Hey guys, and welcome back to Regretsit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, Larry the cat has said, I want a new mummy. I don't know if you saw this, how Larry the cat was just like, don't you come and stroke me, because I know what you're going to do any time now. You're going to throw Kwasi Kwarteng under the bus. Right? And I think Larry and Kwasi is probably quite tight, right? Because obviously things have gone so badly, right, that Liz Truss has already thrown Kwasi Kwarteng under the bus and said that's not, the budget was nothing to do with me, it was all him. In the same way she just done that to Dominic Raab a few weeks ago, right, where she just said, oh no, that portion in the book was written by Dominic Raab. This woman, right, she done business, right? But the one thing Kwasi Kwarteng has just taken away from her this morning, because now he's he's going back on the 40 on the cut, the higher tax rate cut. He's going back on that now, right? After just a couple of days after he brought in, and even this morning, right, the first editions of the newspapers were saying that Kwasi Kwarteng was saying this is the way forward, this is the way how to rebuild Britain. Right? And all of a sudden, Kwasi Kwarteng was on the radio saying, "No, I've listened to what people have to say, and now I'm going to, I'm not going to bring in the higher rates. No, 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 no." Say, well, how? How? You see, what this is, this is people who actually have not one bit of common sense, right? It's probably down to the circles that they move in as well. They're probably in like they're probably in an echo chamber where they don't really know anybody who's having a real life. Because even some of Kwasi Kwarteng's constituents were saying, something, we're going to have to go to our local pub to keep warm over this winter because we can't afford. And this must be a Tory stronghold, because right, a black Tory, right, will only get in a Tory stronghold. Right, you try getting a black Tory in Tottenham. I mean, there are black Tories in Tottenham. Right? I'm sure there might even be a black candidate. Right, but you see how far they are away from. But if you have a black on Asian person, because a lot of these guys, they're brought up in those areas, and they might be only a handful of black or Asian people in those areas, and because obviously they might be living in very well-to-do areas, so their parents could afford to send them to to the private schools and that, where they do mix with all of these people, right? So now once they want to become a politician, I mean, for the Tories, right, they've got someone who appears to be a very educated black person, because they've been to they've been to Winchester, or they've been to Eton, or they've been to Oxford and Cambridge, right? So so they think, oh, well, we've got, but that doesn't mean that these people have any common sense, right? Now Kwasi Kwarteng, right, has done black people no favours at all, right, by coming in, right, and possibly being the worst ever chancellor this country has ever seen, right? And now I think this bitch is going to really find out, right, that what it's like to be a black man in open when you're open in public, because right now he's naked, right? He's on Oxford Street naked. Right, because this man's had to, what he's taken away, what he's taken away from Liz Truss, because at Liz Truss' first party conference, which is going on now, right, the one thing that Liz Truss wanted to do, right, was she wanted to say the lady is not for turning. But Kwasi's taken that away from her. Right? He can't even go up there and say, well, the black fellow's not for turning. Say, well, yeah, I think you are, mate. Right? But he's taken that away from old Lizzie, right? Old Tin Lizzie Truss, right? And you see, Tin Lizzie, right, really, the reason why she's doing so badly, because she's trying to be Margaret Thatcher. I don't know what kind of Thatcher she's trying to be, but she's trying. That's what she's trying to do, right? And when you're trying to be somebody else, right, it doesn't go well. It never goes well for you. I mean, Boris Johnson was trying to be like, Winston Churchill. Do you know what I mean? Who used to walk around like he was as stiff as a fucking board, right, and as wide as a fucking tank. Right, and this is who Boris Johnson wanted to be, right? So you can see it doesn't go. When you're a prime minister, you need to go up there and you need to be who you are, Not try and replicate, some dead person, right? When you try and do that, you're always on a losing battle, right? Just look at, if you ever get with like you get a partner whose partner has passed away, right? You will never be able to live up to that person who's passed away. I mean, it's very difficult because that person's a mythical figure now, right? So this is why Liz Truss, right, and Kwasi Kwarteng, right, and just say the black guy and the blonde, right? These people are doing, right, the associations no good. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me. A special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. So we've got one poll that's put Labour 33 points ahead, right? Which is just completely ridiculous. I mean, I don't know, right? How the Tories can pull those type of numbers back, because once you get that unpopular, it's very, very difficult to pull. But obviously, the Tories are going to go heavily on the whole Rwanda. They're going to go very heavily on that type of thing. We're looking for other countries where we can send black and Asian people to, so you don't have to look at them. Right. So the Tory, they're going to come up. This is the only way they're going to keep themselves in power, with culture wars. Right. So we can expect a lot more culture wars. Right. But you see, a lot of the world, yeah, is more leaning to the left wing now, because a lot of the world has seen, right, what the right wing are when they're in power. I mean, you see what happened in America, right? We've got Biden in power now, and all of a sudden there's people out there doing stuff for the people in the country, not just playing these ridiculous culture wars, talking about building walls and and talking about other races of people in such derogative terms that it gets people out on the streets, fueling this theory, what people like that fool Tucker Carlson is always spouting. Right, this replacement theory, right? These politicians and people like Fox News are fueling this type of thing, and we just say, no one's trying to fucking replace you. Fuck off. No one wants to replace you, right? But this is what these fools are coming up with all the time. Do you know what I mean? Right, so it's just like it's as I said, right? The whole world, right, seems to be leaning much more, much to the left, apart from myself here, because this country is full of racist fools, right? But right, even if you look at what's happened in Brazil now, right, Bolsonaro has come in second place, right, to what's the guy's name? Some Zinazin Lulu, something like that, right? But we can just describe him as a chubby Jeremy Corbyn looking fellow. Right, because that's what he looks like, right? But it looks like Brazil might go for him, because they've got to go for a second round now. But I think he's only about 4 points away. But they've got to go for a second round, right? So it looks like a lot more of the world is leaning towards the left, because once you start doing that, then the politicians start doing things for the people in the country. They're not just playing these ridiculous culture wars, statues and little boats and all this bullshit. You need a proper hand to go and deal with the little boats. You don't need someone like Suella, right, or Cruella, right? De Braverman doesn't need someone like her, right? With these nonsense hardline ridiculous policies, because she wants to please the far right Tories. So as I said, we've got a lot of places leaning to the left, but we're staying worldwide. Yeah, the wife of Judge Clarence Thomas, Ginny Thomas, right? I don't know if you know who she is, but anyway, she was texting Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows is like one of Donald Trump's right hand men. He's Donald Trump's chief, one of the chief. He's one of his right hand men anyway, right? And this woman, right, who's married to one of the Supreme Court judges. All right, so this is a judge. He's a judge for life. But this was a man who said, when he got in, he said, "You know what? I'm here, and I want to upset the lefties and the liberals for the next 40 years, and all the wokies." And think, what? What? He's a black guy, by the way. She's white, and so I mean, this woman was actually texting far right QAnon conspiracy theories. And if you know how close these people are to Donald Trump, it's no joke. Because these people are too close to Donald Trump to be coming up with QAnon theories. It's ridiculous. So let's just say, I just texted a barrage of stuff, right, about, which was far right conspiracy theories. Um, there was one that she said. Here's one that she said. Yeah, the Biden crime family and ballot fraud co-conspirators. I haven't got no glasses on here, and you don't know me well enough to see me in glasses just yet, right? And ballot fraud co-conspirators, elected officials, bureaucrats, social media censorship mongers, fake stream media reporters, etc., are being arrested and detained for ballot fraud right now, and all over the coming days will be in barges at Gitmo to face military tribunal for sedition. Obviously, with the things like the Hugo Chavez, the bamboo in the paper, from China. But it said they're going to be held in barges off of Gitmo. I was like, Gitmo, that's Guantanamo Bay. Why the hell, right, would they hold the Biden family, right? Ballot fraud conspirators, elected officials, bureaucrats, social media censorship mongers, fake stream media reporters, etc. Why would they hold them in barges at Guantanamo Bay or Gitmo? Why would they hold them in barges there? It's a facility. It's a prison facility. Surely they would just say, well, we've got little cells for the Biden family because of the whole Hunter Biden stuff, and we might as well put the Clintons in there as well, because we do know that they're holding little children in a pizza restaurant, right, while drinking their brain juice. This is QAnon conspiracy theories. These people are so far, right, gone. It's unbelievable. They're that far gone. Rudy Giuliani claims the 6th of January was a hoax. Dreamt up by the Democrats. Lying about the whole thing, he said. While he was trying to bring out fake electors. Rudy Giuliani, yeah, is a man who could well end up in prison very, very soon, because Rudy Giuliani believes, yeah, that the Democrats wants to put all of them in prison. They don't want them on the TV. This is what's going through Rudy Giuliani's mind. So Rudy Giuliani's making stuff up, blatantly just saying, well, the whole January the 16th has all been made up. Even though we saw it all of ourselves. We all saw it ourselves. But Rudy Giuliani's up there telling people, well, it's because they want to keep him off the TV and they want to take his house, take his properties away and throw him in prison. I say, no, Rudy, your house might be taken away because you haven't paid your wife her alimony, right? And you might end up in prison because you was organising fake electors. So it's criminal offences why you might end up in prison. And these guys just go all over the media and they're just boasting about it. So, and then they wonder why it is that the DOJ goes for them when they've gone on and they're just blatantly saying about the criminal offences that they've been committing. We've got a first Philly cop in 40 years to be convicted of killing an unarmed man. This was 6 seconds after he arrived on the scene. They was chasing the wrong person, a Mr. Derek Ploward, murdered by Officer Eric Rauch. Just another one, but he's the first Philly cop to be convicted of murder. And I don't think it's actually murder he's been convicted of. He's been convicted of like an unlawful killing. which obviously carries a much different term in America. And then we've got the Hurricane Ian, yeah, which has been completely devastating. We've got a record surge of like 2.7 million homes and businesses without power, right? And we've got so far the death count is in the dozens. When I was looking at this, I saw boats, right? On shore, right, in people's gardens, right, on top of cars, right. If you saw the devastation down some of the high roads, was just like, everything was just all over the place. I mean, this has been one devastating hurricane. When I say devastating, and they showed the eye of it, like, because I don't know, they must have had a camera that must went over it on a helicopter or a plane or whatever. And when you saw that the actual hurricane itself, and you saw right into the eye of it, I mean, this thing just would look. It looked. I mean, I think it was much more like a tsunami that hit where it hit in Florida. I think it's moved over. It's moved over now. I think Miami. I think it's moved over somewhere. And then we've got like 120 people dead, right, in a stampede in an Indonesian football match, where I think the fans after the match. The home team. I think the home team might have lost, and after the match, so it started kicking off on the pitch, and it seems that the police started tear gassing and CS gassing people, and obviously people started a stampede to get out, and so 120 people, I think, plus 130 people. So that was the latest numbers, 130 people, and plus I think about 5 or 6 police officers as well dead on that one. So just absolutely terrible thing to happen, right? And then we've got we'll move over to the UK now, right? We've got a 34-year-old man who has been charged with the murder of Olivia Pratt Corbell, right? And someone else has been charged with assisting an offender, right? And I told you it wouldn't be too long, right, before these people was caught up with, right? Because I'm sure the reward is 200 grand, right? So there's not really going to be much people that's going to hold it down for you for 200 grand. You'd have to have a lot. You'd have to have a lot over them. Even someone who was with you on the night, right, would say, well, you know something, didn't have anything to do with me in killing that little girl. And I mean, to be honest, right, it shouldn't really take them to offer 200 grand for someone to come out and say, listen, you know what, this is who's done it, because you should realise that person is far too dangerous to be on the streets. Because you see, when you end up killing children, yeah, it's gone beyond the point of you being a gangster. Right, you're no longer a gangster. Now you're a child murderer, and child murderers are not gangsters; they're child murderers. Right. So even though it was an accident, because we know you wasn't shooting at her, but still your actions has led to that little girl being murdered. So you have to take responsibility for that. And, if you was my friend, I would have probably given you up anyway without the 200 grand, because I don't really see, it can't be right that you're on the streets and after you've taken a 9-year-old's life. That cannot be right. There's no way that you should be able to live your life out on the streets. You need to be in prison, because you are the type of person who can go and do that again. And how guilty would you feel if you knew someone who had done that, right, and you didn't give them up? They went and done the same thing again and killed another child. How guilty would you feel? Right. Nadim Zahari Radcliffe, right, has cut off her hair in support of the women in Iran, and say, haven't you been winding up the Iranians enough, woman? Right, but no, she's cut off her hair, because women all over the world are doing that now, in support of the women in Iran, because they've been very hardline on the people, but the people are still standing pretty firm in Iran at the moment. And obviously, as I said, it's spreading all over the world, which obviously is a good thing, because it shows up a regime like that for what they really are. Oh, I don't know if you've seen this story, right? But Emily Thornberry, or as you like to say, hey woman with the fat neck. Emily Thornberry, right? Now you see, the thing is, right, what I always say about politicians, right, is these guys, right, they might be some of the most clever brains in the country, but they've just got no common sense, and a lot of them are thick as two very short planks, right? Emily Thornberry, right, she's on the motorway, she's getting herself down to the Labour conference, right, and someone's in the back of the car taking a picture of her, and she's got the caption, just on my way to the Labour conference, right? And in the frame of the picture, 81 miles an hour on the speedo, in a Prius, by the way. Now you think, well, don't anybody like look at the picture before you post it to the worldwide internet? This is what amazes me about these people, right? You know, the stupidity, right? You know, that is like, let me just think what that's like. That's like kicking your cat on camera and posting it online. I mean, the stupidity, right, that it takes for you to do something so stupid, right? Post a picture of yourself, right, doing 81 miles an hour, right, saying you're on your way to the Labour conference. And now she's wondering, yeah, why there's calls for her to resign. She needs to resign. No, she doesn't need to resign, yeah, because you know what? Because she's probably not going to be charged, because you know it'll be very difficult for the police to charge you, because you know the calibration on the the calibration is completely different, you know, to the speed cameras and all that from what's on your speedo. So I don't think they could actually charge her on the back of this. Obviously, if she was doing like 90 or something like that, then they could say, well, clearly you was going much faster than the speed limit. But you know, they give you a little bit of leeway and all that. So she'll be able to get out of it that way. But she should resign, right, for the stupidity. That's why she should resign, for the stupidity, because she's as stupid as Jacob bloody Rees-Mogg. Liz Truss has told Prince Charles, do not come to the environmental conference next week. Don't go, because obviously she doesn't want to be showing up. And you know, she knows that Prince Charles will just go there and just obviously just go there and show her up. Now, what I was telling you the other day, yeah, the Bank of England, right, has come out and said, you know what? Where the Bank of England has stabilised, basically stabilised the pound. Right now, none of these guys are going to give them credit for it. They're going to be, oh, it's our policies. Right? Even though Kwasi Kwarteng, right, has lost the bank 60 odd billion, right, and now he's done a U-turn, right, on his foolishness, right. But we're speaking about how good, right, the rest of his mini budget was, and that's overshadowing it. The foolishness. No, I said the whole mini budget was a whole heap of fucking crap, because just a few fucking months ago you was telling us how much, right, this new National Health Service tax, right, was needed, and now all of a sudden you're scrapping it. Right? And then you're borrowing money to give to fucking rich people. How stupid is that? You'd have been better off, right, borrowing the money to say, you know what, we're going to give everybody in the country, you know, a minimum basic wage. Because at least, right, you have had, right, all the people at the bottom of the pile piling that money straight back into the economy. You fucking idiot. But so that's how the Bank of England's managed to stabilise. Truss and Kwarteng had a meeting with the OBR, right? But you know what that's like? That's like you buying an electric appliance, right, breaking it, right, and then reading the manual. This used to happen quite a lot in this country, right? You'd buy an appliance and it would say in the manual clearly, fully charge the battery before you use it. And the people in this country will go, oh, that's bloody shady. Charge it up. No, they've done that for a reason. Fully charge it, right? So, because it's a rechargeable battery, so that, right, every time you charge it after that, the battery can get to its highest point. See? And that's why the batteries used to... So now, in this country, they said, you know what, the people are so fucking stupid, so what we'll do is we'll just give you fully charged batteries on everything. Because most of the things I buy nowadays, it comes with a fully charged battery. But mobile phones and that before never used to come with a fully charged battery. Right, you used to have to, but most people would just be like, that's used it, and wonder why their battery never used to work properly. The amount of appliances that would be sent back with the batteries, because I used to work in all this industry, the amount of appliances that were sent back with batteries, right, that have only been half charged in the first place, and that's why the battery's failing, so the person sends back the whole fucking Hoover. That would be a rechargeable Hoover, of course. I'm going well over on this one, because you know what, I didn't do a video on Friday, and I should have, but I didn't. I was too busy. One of the head of the Young Tories has described Birmingham as a shithole. I always say, yeah, don't go to other people's areas and describe it as a shithole. I describe, there's a lot of parts of London I describe as a shithole, but that's because I'm from London. So, and London is my oyster. But I wouldn't start going out to Birmingham and Manchester and calling them places their shitholes. I don't live in those places. Right? So for him to go and say that, and openly, because obviously he's taken it back now, but then when they checked his Twitter feed, this guy was always constantly saying derogative things about Birmingham. The Royal Mail have called another strike, 48 hours, and I think that started from Friday or Saturday, so it might be over now. There was the 48-hour strike. Well, it would have gone if it started on Friday. It would have gone through. It'd probably be the last day today with the Royal Mail strike, and the four biggest rail unions will start a strike. They started their strike from Saturday. Obviously, it messed up the London Marathon, and I think they really wanted to target the Tory conference, and I think it really did hurt the Tory conference, because I heard a lot of them saying, look, we had to come up on like coaches and buses, and it was a horrible journey, and I think that's exactly what they was trying to do. Four of the UK... Oh, I've just read that one. Now, we'll move on to some Brexit stories, right? A popular pub in Brighton has closed due to the cost of living crisis and Brexit. See? And that's all down to you racist fools. All these businesses closing all over the place, right? Due to the cost of living crisis. The Tories, who you racist fools want to keep in power, because you know what? They look at people like me and say, "Want to send you motherfuckers to Rwanda?" And you like that. And look what they've done to the country. Just look at the state of the country, right? We've got pubs closing all over the place because they can't afford to stay open, and their products are so much more expensive, so much more. It's a lot harder to get their products into the country, so they've got to close because they can't deal with the biggest market next door. Even though the Chancellor's telling us how much business he wants to attract to this country. How the hell are you going to try and attract business to this country, right? When the pound is so fucking low, right? There's a hostile environment. That's all the racism. That's all the racism, you see. The hostile environment, right? And you can't get things into the biggest market next door. How are you going to attract business here? I mean, someone needs to go to this chancellor and say, you know what? If you used an afro comb when you was younger, right, instead of like a white people's comb, right, you'd have been a lot better off, right? Because this guy's a fucking jackass. Brexit Hardman Steve Baker has apologised to the people of Northern Ireland for being a complete idiot, a jackass, a fool, a wally, right? A four-eyed twat. That's what he's been, right? Over the whole Brexit protocol. He's been a complete arse, right? And now he's all over the media apologising. He needs to apologise because these people are just finding out, how much power Britain hasn't got. Right. These people thought that Britain was such powerful nation and could actually deal, right, with cutting ourselves off from our most important market, and now they're really finding out, oh no, that was a really bad idea, right? These racist fools are really finding out for themselves now. The UK have to show humility over the EU protocol. That's damn right, because the UK has got no power over it. The UK has to stay in the corner and keep its mouth closed and shut up. A brewery hailed as Brexit export champion has called in the administrators. See that? One of the champions of Brexit has called in the administrators. Just a short space of time after we've actually left the EU. Completely, right? Just completely ridiculous. Right? The dollar v the pound. How Brexit is at the heart of the UK's currency rout. Our currency has been routed, right? And whose fault is that? That is down to you stupid, foolish Brexiters, right, who have no sense at all, and you vote against your own interest because you're a bunch of racist fools, right, who, let me tell you this, right, most of you Brexiters, right, I wouldn't trust you with plastic scissors. let alone a fucking vote. My friends, I have to bow out of here because I've gone well over my time, like nearly 10 minutes. So this, my friends, is necessary. I'm the MC, John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.